Welcome back, everybody. It's awesome. Today's going to be really cool. Daniel is the teaching assistant for the class, has done some work and figured out how to set up a server just on a plain Linux box. And so you could rent computers at DigitalOcean, and so he's got Go working on a DigitalOcean Linux box, and he also did it with Aerospike. I think I mentioned Aerospike last week, so it's really fast NoSQL database, which you can check out. And I guess I'll just show that real quick. Aerospike, there we go. So right there, Aerospike, high performance NoSQL database. So I saw this at a conference I was at 2 weeks ago, get 5 million transactions per second. Of course, they had like 16 machines running to do it. We're going to do it with one machine. We hit 25,000 transactions per second at Starbucks this weekend, Sunday. So Daniel, awesome. I'm so excited you're presenting because for me it's like vacation, man. I got to go to bed early last night.
Yay.
Have to prep for this class.
Yay.
So
That's good for you.
I guess while he's digging around, what was one of the first questions I want to ask everybody? How many people have used how many people know? So I won't call on you if you raise your hand, right? You do not know, like you could not explain what SSH is. Raise your hand, I won't call on you. You could not explain SSH. Awesome, because I was kind of like, I've never really done any SSH. Cool, let's check this out. So maybe bring up the wiki for SSH just real quickly, and people could see, SSH, a brief explanation. So SSH, secure shell. So just first off, right off the bat, shell. What do you think when you hear shell computing, programming? Terminal, right? So secure shell. So it's a secure shell. So what? Just from that word, SSH, secure shell, what do you think it's going to be? A secure terminal, but why would we want a secure terminal? Because we are connecting to a remote machine, and we want our connection to be secure. And so we could have a terminal running on our computer, but it's the terminal that's connected to that remote machine. So as we execute commands on our terminal, it's, that's what it's doing to that machine there. So we're logging into another machine with SSH and running the shell on that machine, but seeing it on our computer, right? Totally cool. So that's what Daniel's going to be using to do everything.
Yep.
And Daniel's a little concerned that, man, I think I'll be able to blow through this material in 30 minutes. And so I said, I'll stop him and ask him questions.
Got plenty to go through. So yeah, the SSH is a secure shell, lets you remote control the command line of whatever target computer, which is good because we're not actually on the target computer. It's off somewhere else in the cloud, probably San Francisco. But there is some setup to do, one-time setup for SSH. So for a Unix-based machine like we've got here, Mac and Linux, first thing to do is check if you've already got it set up done with this little command here. This cat command. So just copy paste it, enter. So Todd's machine's already got it set up. He's got this key here, this public key, which we actually set up this last weekend. But I'll explain how to get that working here too. But before I do, I think we should probably go over the Windows one since most people here have got a Windows machine.
Poor suckers. When do you need to switch? Go Jenny. Jenny's going full on all the way.
So I put some slides in the slide directory that's basically got all the Windows instructions. So Windows, you're going to be using PuTTY and WinSCP. So yeah. So the links are right there. They're both got the download links if you want to look at them. They'll basically bring you to websites that look like this. For PuTTY, this one's for PuTTY. Oops.
I know that's tricky.
Yeah.
I do the same thing.
So for PuTTY, you're going to need the actual PuTTY itself and PuTTYGen. Or you can just grab the installer, which has got everything, and we'll put it so you can search for it. Either way.
So for us Mac users, is PuTTY a terminal emulator?
It's an SSH emulator.
Okay, SSH. So you use your DOS commands still.
So you pull up. It'll be shown in a bit.
Okay, cool. I'll shut up.
Yeah. So for getting files to and from your computer too, you're going to need WinSCP. Win stands for Windows, and SCP stands for Secure Copy. So this is how you get files to and from your computer, and you'll just want the installation package here from the downloads page. So on Windows, you'll need to run the PuTTY-Gen first to generate a secure key. So you can skip the key, but then that means you have to log in using your password all the time. And the key is quite a bit more secure, as you can probably see from Todd's key here.
It's about the same length as my passwords.
That's the same length as your password should be. So PuTTY-Gen will generate an SSH key. So just open it up, click generate. It'll ask you to move your mouse around this blank area for a while, and it will generate your key based on your mouse movements. So it's highly unlikely that someone's going to make the exact same mouse motions as you are. So they're not likely to get the same keys as you. Once you're done, it'll give you the key here. This is your public key. This is what you'll need in the future. And then you'll want to click Save Private Key. This private key save file has both the public key and the private key in it. Don't ever look in it. You can load the existing private key file here if you need to look at your public key again. Don't bother saving the public key. It saves in a weird format that doesn't actually work, so don't bother.
If you look at your private key, you turn to stone.
Yeah, I've never even looked at my own private keys, so you shouldn't ever need to. So once you've got the key saved in the private key file, which I believe is saved in like a .ppk format for PuTTY-Gen. So main PuTTY looks like this when you open it up. You'll want to go into SSH authenticate auth. And right here, private key for authentication. You just give that private key you generated with PuTTY-Gen. Then you can head back to session, put in a session information here, which will be your username at the IP address that we'll get from DigitalOcean, and you'll open it. And that will give you an SSH shell connected to the server. WinSCP, you'll go to new site. You'll make sure this is This can be either SFTP or SCP. Either one will work. You'll give the IP address here. You'll put your username here. Leave the password blank. We're using SSH keys instead. And go to advanced. In advanced, you'll go to SSH authentication. Here's your private key file. You'll just point it to your key, and then you can save your site and log in. And this will give you a window that you can drag and drop files to. It's just like you had Windows Explorer open on the server. So you can just drag and drop files back and forth between them, and that way you can get your code over to the server or the final exe or whatever you need to. You can get that over to the server with WinSCP. So I'll go over the Unix commands for that as we come to them because I'm on a Unix machine here, so it's easy to demo. So in case for Unix people, so Todd's already got this here. So this command here, cat id.pub, this gives you the public key. If you get nothing when you run this, that means you don't have the public key yet. So you'll need to run this command here, ssh keygen. So it'll generate an SSH, it'll ask you where you want to save it, which I'm not going to overwrite Todd's key here, so I'm just going to put it somewhere else. But normally you just press enter and leave it in the default spot. So I'll just put it on Todd's desktop here. I think that's desktop.
Yeah, that's good.
So normally you just leave it blank and press enter and go to the default spot, which is where you want it to be. So passphrase, if you've got some high security, like you're making a bank website, you'll want a passphrase on your SSH key. But since we're just doing this, I'm just going to say empty, empty. Saving key failed. Oh, okay. So it's very, very picky about its path. It does not like the little tilde symbol for home. It's extremely picky about where it puts everything. So something got met. It can't find some folder, one of these folders. So, but whatever. What it will do is it'll generate two files though, id_rsa and id_rsa.pub. The .pub is the public key. That's the one that you'll need to look at. This cat command just prints it. You can also go to that folder and open up in a text editor or something.
We had user instead of users.
Yeah, that
No
would
big
work.
deal.
Yeah, no big deal. So after that you got it generated, you can run the cat command again to print your key. This key is used in a variety of places. You can actually give this public key to GitHub, and then you won't need to use your password when you're using GitHub clone and push commands anymore, which is really nice. Okay.
You want to show them where you stick it in GitHub? Because that's in the
Sure.
instructions, right? You can show that in a second.
It's not in my instructions, but it is in your instructions. So
Yeah, show them in GitHub.
so yeah, if you go to GitHub settings, SSH keys, you can add an SSH key here. You just paste the. I'll just click on it. You'll give it a name, and then you'll just paste the entire key from SSH-RSA all the way to the end here. You'll copy that entire thing, paste it into key, add it to key, and then it'll be on GitHub. And then you can go to any repo, flip to SSH, and then this URL, you can get cloned to it from it without needing a password or get push or anything. So now let's go to DigitalOcean. So DigitalOcean is a website. They rent Linux machines in the cloud. You can use it for whatever you want. So there's instructions in their database for.
So that's actually what the terms of use say at DigitalOcean. It's just like really short. It says use this for whatever you want. I'm joking.
there's tutorials on their DigitalOcean website for setting up Minecraft servers. So it's a generic Linux machine. You can put whatever you want in it. So once you log in, in fact, how about I put this into the video over here, Todd's referrals. If you sign up using this link here, this
Zoom in
referral
on
link, you'll get $10 credit for being referred to DigitalOcean. So you can look at this in the video later. But you sign up with this, you'll get $10 credit, and if you stick with DigitalOcean for a long time, Todd will get $25 credit.
Yay.
Which is several months of credit. So in any case, you'll once you're in, you'll hit create droplet. It's got this little animation, which I don't think you can see. So you'll give it a name. A good rule of thumb is the name of your website, so whatever the URL is. Since we don't have a URL, we'll just call it test server 1 or something. You'll pick a size. So $5 a month is good for most stuff. Aerospike wants 2 gigs of RAM.
I say we go the $80 route. Let's go 160. Let's see how many transactions per second we get. Do it. Go 160 a month.
So yeah, that's 23 cents an hour.
I can afford that.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd say pick you could probably get away with the 1 gig of memory one for Aerospike, but if you're just running a server without Aerospike, the $5 a month one will work just fine. So yeah, as you get up in price, you'll get more RAM, you'll get more processor cores, you'll get a bigger solid-state drive disk, and you'll get more bandwidth. This is monthly bandwidth, by the way.
So what was I going to ask? I was going to ask, we got 16 gigs and 8 is 80, and Aerospike wants how much? 4 gigs of RAM?
Aerospike wants 2.
Oh, Aerospike wants 2, okay. But we might get more with 16.
Yeah, with 16 you'll
more
get
bandwidth.
Yeah, it'll be able to cache more data and run better and such. So data center region, I recommend just picking San Francisco since it's right nearby. You'll get a good connection without any kind of lag as you're typing in terminal commands, which is good. If you think you're going to be selling to people mostly in England or something, pick the London one. There are going to be a lot more people going to your website than you are going to be managing your website, so whoever's closest to your potential customers is best. San Francisco is good enough for us, though. Image, Ubuntu. So 14.4 is what all the tutorials are for, but in 14.10, they updated their background processes program. So I'm just going to go to 15.10 so we can use the new stuff because who wants to learn old stuff? That'll be out of date in another year or two. So yeah, 15.10, 64-bit. Aerospike requires 64-bit. Our Go server may be running on but 64-bit only really is helpful if you get more than 4 gigs of RAM. But Aerospike requires 64-bit anyway. They programmed their stuff their Go API has a uint that's set to some value that's higher than a 32-bit integer can fit, which means it will crash if it tries to compile on a 32-bit machine where it's a 32-bit integer. So you just have to go 64-bit, which stinks, but oh well. Private networking. If you're running multiple servers, private networking will give you an additional IP address, which is only between your servers, and it won't charge you bandwidth. And it's not going out to the main internet too, so it's probably more secure. It's also good for setting up your firewall. You can set up like access to your database to only be on the private network IP, which is good because that means no one else can get to your database. IPv6 is also something probably decent to turn on. If you can stick a URL on it and it's IPv6, browsers can connect to IPv6, which is supposed to be becoming the standard sometime, eventually, one day. It's been going to be the standard for the last like decade or something, but whatever. And then down here you'd give it an SSH key. So you normally hit a new SSH key and you'd copy that entire key.
Set it up.
This one remembers Todd's one here.
Oh, okay, that's good. All right.
But yeah, you can put it in there. But yeah, just remember hit the Todd's remembered one. And this is it. That'll hit create. It'll spend about a minute or so creating the server. The first 30 seconds go really, really fast, and then it sticks there for a while. So this will be just a generic Linux machine with no graphics, no nothing. It'll have nothing installed besides the basics like a text editor, and I think that's the package manager, and that's about it. Wow, that booted really fast. Must be the eight processors or something.
No, everybody's at Costco. I figured that one out this morning.
Yeah. So right here, it gives you the IP address. You'll need this. Very important. You'll need this quite a bit. It's like you can't get to your server without this. I believe in networking, you can assign. It has the information for hooking up your server to a URL if you've purchased a URL from somewhere. So if you got a URL, you can connect it via a networking tab, and then you can just use your SSH to your URL instead of the IP address, which is really cool, but not needed here. We don't have a URL just sitting around. So Windows machines people, you'll just punch in, you'll go to root at your IP address. So Linux machines will go to there as well, but we'll type in SSH root at the IP address, enter. First time you connect, it'll ask, it says it doesn't recognize the computer. Tell it yes, this is the correct computer. It'll give you a big warning if there's a man-in-the-middle attack from now on, which is cool. And now, we are now in the test server, root at test server 1. This command line is now running commands on the remote computer. What do I have next? So yeah, create a server. I've got most of these instructions like put down here. SSH root at IP address. Windows users should use PuTTY. So now we want to set up an Ubuntu user account. Because right now we're running as root, which is admin. Full access. You don't want your server running as admin. You don't want to be running yourself as admin usually either. So we're going to create a user account with more restricted privileges, but give it access to sudo so we can run stuff as admin when it needs to. So first off, creating the user account. That's really, really easy. Add user and a username. Really, really easy. So add user with a username. So ask for a password, give it some password. This one, you're not going to be using it to log in, but you'll still need it in order to run stuff as admin. So give yourself a decent one. I'm just going to use our old friend 123 here. Ask for a bunch of additional information. You can just keep pressing enter and leave them all blank. Yeah, it's defined. Okay, we now got a user. So now we need to make it. Be able to run commands as root if it needs to. So that's here. So it's g password -a username and then sudo. So now this user account, Daniel, can run sudo. So let's switch user to this account. Now we are Daniel at test account -1. So CD will go to your home directory. That's the same as doing CD that or CD home or CD /home/Daniel. All equivalent. So I just use plain CD.
Good question for you. So it's not case sensitive on is the information correct? The yes. That's just for the default. The
I believe the capital.
Right?
I believe the capital Y here is for the default.
Yeah,
Yes.
we could have just hit enter.
Probably. That for the new user one, it's kind of buggy. One time it didn't work for me. One time it did. I just put the Y in. So we're in this user. We are currently using switch user to be this user. What we're going to be doing here is we're going to be giving it our SSH key so we can log in directly as this user. So we've got nothing in this folder, ls-a. We got some basically the command line private files and nothing else. So let's make a directory .sh. Now if we look at this, we got .sh, which is blue because it's a folder. Right now, it's if we look at its permissions, the .sh folder is owned by me, its group is me, and here's its permissions. Read, write, execute for me, read, write, execute for anyone in my group, and read and execute for anyone else. SSH keys, even the public key, is still kind of sort of sensitive. I mean, it's not really going to hurt you anyway, but you still probably don't want anyone just kind of being able to just look at it for no reason. So we're going to change the permissions there. Use that with change mod. And then you give it an octal permissions, set of 3. So there's 3 permissions, read, write, execute, and there's 3 different people it goes to, owner, group, and everyone else. And the numbers mean stuff too. So there's 4 for read, 2 for write, and 1 for execute. Just add them together. So for us, we want to read, write, and execute for us. So 7. 4 plus 2 plus 1. Everyone else, we don't want them to see it at all. So 0. And then the name of the folder.
So does everybody understand that? Like when you look over there on the left, you see the drwx, rwx, r-x. And so I don't know what the D stands for. Is that
directory?
Okay, and then the rwx, rwx, rwx. The first rwx is for you, is that right?
Yeah, it's for the owner.
For the owner. And the second rwx is for the group?
Yep. So if you want, so I've got a teacher who has all his class on a Linux server like this, and he just sets the group of like homework assignments to the class, and then everyone who's part of the class has their users in that group, so they can get access to that folder.
Don't feel too bad if you have trouble with change mod.
Yeah.
I always look up the documentation every single
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to spend a second talking about it. And then the third RWX is who? So first is user, second is group, and the third one is?
Everyone else.
Who's everyone else? Users and groups? Oh, everybody who's not in a user or group. Everybody
Yeah.
else got it.
It's not the owner and not in the group. Everyone else.
And then your 700, the 7 refers to the you, the 0 refers to the group, and the next 0 refers to everyone else. And the way you get those numbers is R has the number 4, W has the number 2, X has the number 1. So if I just wanted read write, I would do 6, which is 4 plus 2. If I just wanted read, I'd do 4. If I wanted read write execute, I'd do 4 plus 2 plus 1 is 7. I'd have all 3. So that's how that works.
So 777 would open it up to everyone, regardless of
Yeah.
who they're
Yeah.
at.
And 666 gives read write to everyone, including the devil.
So change mod's got a variety of different option types. I think you can do things like +R to make read to everyone and such. It's a big pain figuring out all those commands. I just do the number system and set everything all at once. It's easier to remember than the million various other ways of setting options. So if we look at the thing again, now that we've run change mod, we can see no one else has got any permissions at all. They can't even look at it. They don't have read permissions, but we still have a full access. So
Ha ha
good.
ha ha.
So next up, we need to open one of our editors. So the Linux machine comes with 2 editors. First one is Nano, which is a normal text editor, basically. Pretty fun. Control is over there. No, don't save. The other one it comes with is Vi. Super, super complicated. I don't recommend it if you don't already know it.
I prefer Nano.
Yeah.
Sometimes people use Pico, which is old Nano.
Yeah, Pico is basically Nano. It actually says Nano in the upper left when I did Pico. So it's, oops,
I can't remember which is smaller.
and I can't exit Pico for some reason.
Control X.
There we go. It wasn't working. Okay, so yeah, Nano is supposed to be the small editor. I believe if you're running C++ files, then it'll give you syntax highlighting, but it doesn't work with Go. Too new of a programming language. So we're going to go into nano.ssh, which is the folder we just created, /authorized keys _keys. So this file, we're just creating it now. It says new file there. This file has one SSH public key on every line. So if we go back to, I think it's Control-T for new tab?
I think so.
No,
Not when you're in Nano.
there, it's Command-T.
Oh,
So we'll go back here to our machine and look up our SSH key, which is id_rsa.pub. So if you're on Windows, you would open up in PuTTyGen and load your key file and grab your key. We're not in Windows, so we'll do that and just paste it in. It's a big long line, and Nano kind of scrolls over. So if you got multiple computers, you just make a new line and paste another key on the next line down. You just keep going until you got all the keys you want. Don't share keys between your computers. So to exit this, you use Control-X for exit, which is not working again. Answer Y, yes, do you want to save? And then Enter will save it where it was before, where we entered down the command line. So now it's set up. So now we've got the SSH key for this user as an authorized user. So we don't have to use the password anymore. It'll just use the SSH key and log us in automatically, which is great. So let's go into .ssh and -l. So we've got all these permissions. So they can't actually get to here without getting into the SSH folder, but you might as well change the permissions to make it more restricted here too. So 600 basically means read and write for myself only, no one else. So like I said, they can't actually get in there without getting into the .ssh folder, but you might as well make it more secure overall. When you're pasting, Linux machines is Control-Shift-V in the command line. Mac, it's the Command-V. PuTTY, you right-click the window. I don't know why they made right-click the paste, but it is. Oops, I scrolled way far down. There we go. So now let's type exit once, and we'll go back to being root. Because remember, we didn't actually log in as Daniel here. We logged in as root, and then we used switch user to fake being Daniel. So now we're logged in as root. So let's make sure that this worked before we try doing anything else. So it's SSH Daniel at the IP address, which let me go look that up again. Okay, logged in successfully. Didn't need a password or anything.
So maybe take a second just to explain what's happening behind the scenes there. So when we asked to log in, you did the SSH, secure shell, Daniel at that IP. Our computer then tried to connect to that IP as the user Daniel, and when it contacted that computer, it said, hey, I'm trying to connect to this computer remotely with secure shell, and since it's a secure shell, it looked into that directory and it grabbed the public key and took that with it.
It grabbed the private key and encrypted like a request, a login message with the private key. And if the server can decrypt it with one of its public keys, it says, okay, this is allowed. And then it's able to go on and communicate with more advanced, like one-time passwords and such, which are more secure.
And then the server knew to look into the Daniel user account area and look inside that SSH folder, the .ssh folder for the public key to try to decrypt the message.
Yeah, the .ssh/authorized keys is a file that SSH knows to look in.
Okay, cool.
So .ssh/id_rsa is where it knows to look for your private key automatically as well, which is why that was the default when generating a key.
How many people that's helpful for you? Yeah. How many people are like, wow, this is totally awesome? Yeah, I think so too. Thank you, Daniel, for doing this. This is totally awesome. I know that he spent like 9 hours or something over Thanksgiving getting all this set up and figuring it out because there's multiple documentation. And I was like, wow, if I had done that, that would have taken me 30 hours. So thank you very much.
So yeah, if it asks for your password when you're trying to log in with your user account again, something went wrong. It doesn't recognize your key. So, but it didn't ask us for a password. It figured out the key, so it's all good. So let's exit. We're back. Connection closed. Let's go back over to our root tab here.
It's a little funky.
Yeah. So let's restrict it. We don't want anyone to be able to log in as root, even if they've got that SSH key. It's just too damaging. We want them to have to log in as Daniel and then run sudo, which requires our password. So there's a file /etc/ssh/sshd_config we want to edit. This is all of SSH options. So like you can change what port it runs on here. Port 22 is the default, which we'll leave it as. So you just change it listen address so it only listens to connections from certain IP addresses. Look for where its keys are. Lots and lots and lots of options in here. So we want this line here, permit root login. We want that to be no. You're not allowed to log in as root. Another thing that we can do to make it more secure too is we can go down to here, password authentication. If we uncomment that and change it to no, that'll make it so it won't let you log in with your password. You must have the SSH key, which is more secure because those SSH keys are a lot longer than your average password. So Control X to exit, yes, enter. Okay, saved.
Now, I have a question. Does this mean all admin things from here on out must be through Daniel and you will never again be able to get in through root?
Yes, you must go through sudo. You can get to root again by running sudo su root. This is the switch. Su is for the switch user. So you can get to root that way. You should never have to.
What happens if we lose the public key? Like the computer gets destroyed in a fire.
You're out of luck.
Into our machine
You got to shut down that server and start up a new one. So make sure you take backups. So we need to run service SSH restart, which will let SSH restart on the server and reload the new configuration options. Now, before we disconnect, let's make sure it works. We can still get into the server because otherwise we've just bricked the machine. But we still have that connection still, so we can still go back and edit if need be.
Did you say we just bricked?
Yep,
Like that.
Yeah, bricking the machine is it's no longer good for anything but being a brick.
Yeah.
Completely totaled.
That's cool.
So SSH Daniel at, okay, we still can log in. We're good. So, and let's check to see if root login still works, is restricted. Permission denied, public key. Okay. So it all worked. So now we can log out from being root. Type exit, connection closed. Okay. So with that, you now have a user account set up. So that's basically the generic SSH setup for any kind of machine. I'll basically go through those steps for any machine when I'm first connecting. That's how you get an SSH setup.
Let's stop the video right there because I think that's
Yeah,
a good
that is
in and of itself generic Linux remote machine setup.
Yep. So